This was one of the cheapest mini PCs that I could get on eBay, and from the outside it might not look like much, but on the inside what you'll find is potentially a great opportunity to build a really good value home server for hosting your own personal cloud, serving media streaming software, running Docker containers, and a lot more. And what I'm talking about here is the Lenovo ThinkCentre M73, specifically the tiny form factor variant, which came out sometime around 2014. And as you can see, my unit here has a quad-core i5-4570 and 16 gigabytes of RAM, which is pretty respectable. That said, there are newer models of mini PCs just like this available as well, with newer processors and DDR4 if you're willing to spend a little bit more money. But what I really like about these is that they're actually quite commonly available secondhand on places like eBay, and if you choose to buy a bare bones unit, meaning you get the computer without any CPU, RAM, or storage, you'll only have to pay about $30 to get started, and that's exactly what I did with this system. Throw in a power adapter, CPU, RAM, and storage, and realistically, you can put together a customized mini server for less than the going price of our Raspberry Pi right now. But unlike a Raspberry Pi, you have a socketed desktop CPU that you can upgrade later down the road if you want, with more I/O and generally more capabilities since it's a regular x86 computer. And I'm going to be putting this to the test with some really cool hardware that I'm hoping I can actually get working on this system. And even as old as this processor is, the i5-4570 is still very capable for general internet browsing and office tasks, and I'll let you in on a little secret here. It's actually pretty comparable to the embedded CPU shipping in modern network-attached storage boxes, albeit with considerably worse power efficiency. Of course, to try it out, we also need to install some software that can help us manage our files and applications on the server, ideally using some kind of a remote web interface. And for this project, I'm going to be testing out CasaOS, which is a free and open source program for Linux that should handle this job very well. The OS in CasaOS is a little misleading since it actually needs a base operating system to run on, and CasaOS works on a few different Linux distros, but for this one, I'm going to be testing out Debian Linux since it's stable, pretty easy to install, and pretty lightweight, so we'll be able to get the most out of our hardware here. And I should make it clear that this isn't necessarily an installation guide, but more of a topical overview of the process that I used to get this mini PC working as a server and how it ended up working out. So with that said, I went ahead and got the installation ISO for Debian 12 onto a USB stick and plugged it into my server along with a keyboard and a display, and then it was just a matter of going through a standard Debian installation, formatting my boot drive, making a user account, and choosing my packages. For this, I decided to do a minimal install, only loading the base system and utilities along with an SSH server so I could remotely access the server console and set up CasaOS. And with that done, it's actually really easy to load CasaOS. Assuming you have an Ethernet connection, just install the CURL package for Debian so you can run the one installation command on the CasaOS GitHub page, and that script will automatically go out and grab everything else it needs to get the web interface running on the server. So now I could go to my main PC and create a user account to log into CasaOS, and that's basically it. And again, I think CasaOS is a really nice option for a project like this because it's so quick and easy to set up, and it's fairly capable without being all too complicated. For example, to install Jellyfin at this point, it's literally just 2 clicks and CasaOS will automatically set up a Docker container for you and start setup. But installing Jellyfin on a system like this with such limited storage is really underwhelming. In this case, I have a 128GB boot SSD, and that's where I'm going to try expanding the server using one of the USB 3 ports on the front. And we could just use a regular USB hard disk. It's pretty easy to add a terabyte or two with an off-the-shelf drive, but for this video, I wanted to do something just a little bit different to see if I could make our server more capable. And that's why we decided to work with TerraMaster to get our hands on one of their new 4-bay DAS enclosures, which is a pretty similar concept to a NAS, but rather than connecting to your network, a DAS just uses a direct attachment to your PC to let you take advantage of the storage. The unit we have here is their D8 hybrid model, and this is actually a pre-release unit that's going to be going on crowdfunding soon, and the cool thing about it is that it actually lets you use up to 4 mechanical hard drives along with 4 M.2 NVMe SSDs, and you can manage all these in software to expand your storage in a lot of very flexible ways. It also has a built-in hardware RAID controller that will manage the data stored across the first 2 SATA drives that you have installed. But since that only applies to these 2 drives, which I find a little weird, We'll just keep the unit in single mode, meaning that each drive you put in will appear as a new individual storage device in your OS. You can kind of imagine this to be like taping 4 USB hard drives and 4 USB SSDs all together and linking them up with a single USB cable. I will admit that the overall build quality is pretty cheap and the drive trays spring like keys on a piano, but it does what it needs to do at a pretty decent price. The NAS just needs power and a USB connection to get started. And I think I should quickly touch on the topic of using USB storage for a NAS, since this is a pretty unconventional setup. But it's actually more common than you might think, and it's not all too weird to see folks stream movies off a USB external hard drive hooked up to, say, a Raspberry Pi, a Wi-Fi router, or a Mac Mini. And for what it's worth, I'm also editing this video off of USB storage and even booting Windows from it, and it seems pretty stable. Overall, I think the storage management in a proper NAS is better, but for a low-cost setup that gives you the flexibility of separating your compute and your storage, I can overlook these limitations, and I think it's a really interesting setup. So, with everything that I've done to this little mini PC, I think the question still stands as to whether or not this is actually worth spending your time and money on. And, well, I think there are a couple of sides to it that you really need to consider if you want to try and get started with an affordable home server. The biggest elephant in the room here, which I already touched on briefly, is the added power consumption of a setup like this as opposed to the much lower power consumption of modern NAS solutions. If you're going to be running your home server 24/7, well, it's a lot better if you can use a CPU that's only consuming like 7 watts of power as opposed to 77 watts. And that's just one of the weaknesses of the older architecture you're going to be using in these older mini PCs. But on the flip side, these little mini PCs are abundantly available from so many different places that it's hard not to find some really good deals, at least in the US. And if you're comfortable with getting your hands dirty to install a CPU and upgrade the RAM in one of these, I still have a really hard time not recommending a setup like this, considering how powerful they are per dollar. But this is just one of many different potential solutions, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to cover even more ways that you can get started with a capable home server without spending more than you have to. And I think that's pretty much all I have to talk about in this video. I hope you found it helpful, and let us know if you're interested in videos like this so we can keep making more of them. And let us know if you have any questions or comments down in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss any of our future content. And as always, have an awesome day.